right, so today let's talk about the ocean. The ocean is a vastly misunderstood part of our world. It is, you know, that way because we don't live on it, essentially. We live on land, so we focus on land. So a lot of our storytelling that comes with experience is land based. That doesn't mean the ocean isn't alive too. It doesn't mean there aren't civilizations there. There are so many things going on in the ocean that it is a world and worlds of its own. It is a place where you can go and you can see merfolk and mermaids. You can see creatures that we would describe as sea monsters. They exist. The whole, this isn't the ocean necessarily, but if you consider all bodies of water, there are things like Loch Ness Monster, which are plesiosaurs and other beings that are seen in these bodies of water. I think Lake Champlain is another one that supposedly has a being in it. I've never connected with it, but supposedly it's there. I have kind of like had an introduction, I guess, to the plesiosaurs in a way, but not much connection to them, but I know they exist. And then there are all these civilizations in the oceans and portals. There are portals to other worlds. I'm going to talk a little bit about that to a degree today, these ocean portals and pathways and things. There's a lot of mythology lore about the tunnels underneath the earth. They go under the ocean too, and they're used by the beings of the oceans. I was doing a reading once and working with this humanoid merfolk looking being, very beautiful being. They lived in the Aegean Sea, and the Aegean Sea, I'm not the greatest with geography, so I had to look it up when I did this. They kept saying they live in the Aegean Sea, but I felt Mediterranean energy. It's actually connected to the Mediterranean. It's like there's the Mediterranean, and then like the Aegean Sea goes up. So to me, it feels very Mediterranean in energy because of excuse me, because of the water source. And so I'm talking to this being, and I'm kind of confused about its whereabouts, and I had to confirm a few times because again, I was like, it feels like Mediterranean. I've worked with a lot of Mediterranean beings. And they go, no. And then they say, there's this tunnel that connects the Aegean, and they keep showing me a sea to the north. The client that I was working with lived in the area of Turkey, which is kind of south and east to both of those. I think Turkey actually butts up to the Aegean Sea. I could be wrong, but it's real close to that area. And they showed me these tunnels, and I'm like, oh, so you can go to the Black Sea, which is north, this bigger area. And they go, yeah, we can go back and forth. And I'm like, well, how do you do that? Thinking, do they just get out of the water and walk over, or is there a portal of energy? How are they doing that? And they talked about the underground tunnel systems. There are underground tunnels that connect these different areas, and so there's one from the Aegean to the Black Sea where they can swim into the tunnels, get out, walk, and in those areas there are other beings living there, and they just get out, they walk to the Black Sea area and swim back out to the Black Sea. Now, I don't know how it all works, where exactly it's at or anything like that, but those are the images they were showing me. And I've had this on multiple occasions by other beings confirming that there are these tunnel systems that connect different seas and oceans around our Earth, and not just around our Earth, but there's bodies of water in the Earth that they connect to, and there are like what people would call inner Earth areas that they connect to, and that's a lot of those tunnels. They don't just connect the land areas through underground means. They're going down into the inner Earth areas where there are physical places that beings exist in, and some of those beings exist in underground oceans, underground spaces. This is where you get into the idea. So there's this movie that comes to mind all the time called The Meg that came out a few years ago about a megalodon, which is a prehistoric shark, one of the biggest ever known, I believe, so far. And there's a space in the ocean, below the ocean, that's separated because of the dirt and silt and all this stuff, and then stuff can, like, there's no life, and then all of a sudden there's all this beautiful life below it. It's kind of like that in a sense in some areas. Some of the areas that have been explained to me, like, that is actually a kind of a real concept of things gathering in warmth and heat and then being able to live in those spaces. But it goes a step further and goes through tunnel systems into those different areas, essentially portals. And so there are some other experiences I've had where mermaid-like beings, they're mermaid and merfolk-like beings, so they have a lot of times have humanoid faces, but like the fins of fish for ears, and like the point, like fins going up and down their head, you know, perpendicular or perpendicular. I can't think of the word to describe it for some reason, but like imagine a fin that's straight, doesn't go left or right, but straight and then goes back down the spine. Fins all over their body. Some of them have muscles and plants and things growing on them. Some of them don't look that way. Some of them look like fish. Some of them look like squid and cuttlefish. Some of them have looked like more sea plant oriented. And I mean, just as a side note, even coral is conscious. And one of my clients that had coral come up in a divine council transmission, that was one of the first beings on the divine council transmission they connected with. They went out to the sea and they're like, I boom, instantly was connected to the coral after that experience. Coral is extremely conscious. I call it like the fungi of the sea. We have fungi, the sea has coral. And so there are all these beings down there, and a lot of these mermaid-like beings are actually in these underground oceans. In these underground oceans, they're able to swim through these caverns and tunnels and stuff and look up at us. I had one that was looking up and showing me that they watch humans snorkel, probably scuba too, I would assume, around coral reefs. And they watch them through holes in the coral where people don't know there's actually an entrance in a cavern, in a tunnel. So they're staying down there and watching them from below. And then there are giant portals. There are places you can go. There's one I was shown, and I'll just say it's Mediterranean area. I don't know the exact location anyway, but if you swim down into the ocean, there's a big cavern, a water cavern. You go through the water cavern and you come up out, and you're in an actual land area, like actual cavern without the water in it, with air and oxygen and all this. And there's an enormous it's like steps. There's like steps going up from like a pyramid, and there's a circle like a Stargate, or not like a Stargate, there is a Stargate there, I should say, but there's an enormous lizard creature, amphibious lizard creature is what I would describe it as. Just imagine a salamander that is, 2 stories tall, and just massive, just enormous thing standing at the top of the steps and walking around the cavern, guarding the cavern from people coming in and out. That was another one I experienced with one of these divine council transmissions, was connecting to that and just being like, it guards these gateways. And I believe there was more, if I remember right. I'd have to look at the reading, but if I remember right, there was more than one Stargate. There were 2 or 3 of them up there, but these weren't Stargates in the sense of like going to other planets. And for those of you who don't have an image of a Stargate, the easiest image to see is if you look at the show, actually, Stargate SG-1. That looks like many of the Stargates I've seen. It's not exact, obviously. We humanized and fictionalized it. So if you Google that and look up Stargate SG-1, you'll see the first thing pops up will be this big ring with symbols and a circle in the middle. That's kind of the similar style. They're always rings with circles of energy and like wormholes you can walk through and go to different places. And I've seen different forms of them between galactics and below and all that. So they exist in a variety of different ways, but they are already set up below the earth and guarded by individuals who are guardians, who many might call even like gods and goddesses. They're probably in some of our mythological lore as these beings who are guardians and protectors, which we usually find out are based on real things. So somewhere out there, there are these there's at least one of them, which if there's at least one of these giant salamander beings, chances are there's a bunch of them somewhere, or they come from another planet or that sort of thing, and we're dropped into to guard this space. And these portals go into the inner earth worlds. They drop into the oceans, into the other spaces of inner earth without having to actually travel down. And they exist all over. There are other places, islands, other big, large beings like this, titans of the sea, essentially. So if you experience anything like that while you're talking to the ocean, while you're astrally traveling or dreaming and having remembrance, remember that stuff is real. It's not something that is fictionalized. Is a fiction. It's fictionalized in our culture, but it's not a fiction type of thing. It actually exists. So that was the topic of today. Thank you for watching. If you enjoy these videos, please consider a spirit art reading, divine counsel transmission. Just sharing on social media and that sort of thing helps, and commenting. Let me know your thoughts. I'm grateful for each and every one of you, and I love you all.